Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Women's Connect. My name is Pooja Shurahadi, and we have a wonderful program for you with experts from various fields today. Before we begin, I would like to go over some house rules with you. Please use your full name or family name for your Zoom login. Please keep your video on during the entire Women's Connect event, unless asked otherwise. Unmuting will not be permitted. There will be an open forum at the end of the event. Please use the raise hand option and wait for the host to unmute you if you would like to ask a question or say something. Everyone is requested to keep their Zoom session in full screen mode. Thank you and enjoy the event.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to the 2021 Women's Connect Social, organized in honor of International Women's Day. My name is Aditi Agarwal, and I'm the president of India Club. This year's theme for Women's Connect is Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in a COVID-19 World. The theme celebrates the tremendous efforts by women and girls around the world in shaping a more equal future and recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. Celebrated on March 8th every year, International Women's Day is a day dedicated to honoring the achievements of women throughout history and all across the globe. And is typically a day for women from all different backgrounds and cultures to band together to fight for gender parity and women's rights. Gender parity is a statistical measure that compares women and men through their income, education, and work hours, and other points. The color purple has become an international symbol for women, signifying justice and dignity. You can show your participation and support towards International Women's Day by wearing purple on March 8th every year. India Club shows support for providing this platform to help women of our community to get recognitions for their brilliance that they bring. The vision of this event is to bring women in our community together to empower and be empowered by each other. Through the Women's Connect Social, India Club wants to give you all a chance to make new friends and learn from each other. Today, we have invited 5 special guests, experts in their fields, to share their knowledge with us. I'd like to thank our special guests who took time out of their personal schedules to be here with us. I would also like to thank you all for joining in this online session to help empower others and be empowered by others. Now, before we begin our main event, I'd like to welcome another special guest, B.N. Chinmayee, to help us kick off this event with a beautiful song. Hailing from a musical family, Chinmayee has over 20 years of formal training in Carnatic music. Chinmayee has won special awards and has performed widely in India and USA. Besides being a musician, she is also a genetic counselor with a current focus on neuromuscular specialty, laboratory diagnostics, and training of graduate students. Please welcome Chinmayee to start the program. Thank you.
Namaste and good afternoon to all. Very happy to be part of this program. Thank you for inviting me. The song that I chose to sing, I see that most of us might know Hindi. Some of us that don't. The song that I've chosen to sing speaks about let's try to help others, get others better. But before we do that, let's improve ourselves. Let's get ourselves better. हमको मन की शरण शक्ति देना मन विजय करे दूसरों की जैसे पहले खुद को जय करे हमको मन की शक्ति देना मन विजय करे दूसरों के जैसे पहले खुद को जय करे हमको मन की शक्ति देना भेद भाव अपने दिल से साफ कर सके दोस्तों से भूल हो तो माफ कर सके झूठ से बचे रहे सच का दम भरे दूसरों की जैसे पहले खुद को जय करे हमको मन की शक्ति देना मुश्किलें पड़े तो हम पे इतना कर्म कर साथ दे तो धर्म का चले तो धर्म पर खुद पे हौसला रहे बदी से ना डरे दूसरों की जैसे पहले खुद को जय करे हमको मन की शक्ति देना मन विजय करे दूसरों की जैसे पहले खुद को जय करे हमको मन की शक्ति देना
Thank you so much for that wonderful song. It is my pleasure to introduce the first speaker for today, Dr. Meenakshi Patel. Dr. Patel is no stranger to our community, and we're delighted to have her here today. Dr. Meenakshi Patel is an MD, FACP, MMM, CMD, and a clinical associate professor at Wright State University. She's also a practicing physician at Valley Medical Primary Care, as well as a principal investigator at Valley Medical Research, and a medical director at Bethany Village and Woodglen Alzheimer's Community. Dr. Patel earned her medical degree at the University of Mumbai in Mumbai, India. She completed a residency in internal medicine at Sinai Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland. She's a board certified in internal medicine, geriatrics, and hospice and palliative care. Please welcome Dr. Patel.
Hello, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, everyone. And thank you very much for inviting me to be a speaker at this session. It is my honor to be here. And I love seeing all these young women being part of India Club and sharing their energy and enthusiasm with us. So what is feminism? Feminism isn't about making women stronger. Women are already strong. It's about the way that we change the way the world perceives that strength. And how does it start? Where does it start? So it starts with us as women. It starts with us because we have the unique ability to become mothers. we give birth to children, men cannot. And as we do so, it is how we raise our children, is how the world will perceive women and men. When we have sons and daughters, if we treat them differentially, we already teach them that there is a difference between a woman and a man, or a girl and a boy, in how they are supposed to be when they grow up. I can say that I was very fortunate that my father treated me like a son. And he always pushed me to achieve my best. He always drove me to do more than what I thought I could do. And I'll give you the example of my best friend and I. We both were in high school together. We had marks, 1 mark away from each other. That's how close we were, even in our academic achievements. So she and I did interscience. This is dating us into the prehistoric times, I think. But we did interscience together, and she and I were 1 mark away from each other. We both could have got into the second best medical school in India. My father, of course, pushed me to do that. And her father said, well, she's a girl. She's going to get married. There's no need for her to go into medicine. And so she did physical therapy, and she's doing fine. But in school, I was always the follower. She was always the leader. I was meek and mild, and she was the driver. And that instance, that dynamic changed. And I became the leader, and she became the follower, which is really how things change in life. And so it's very important as we raise our sons and daughters to make sure that they feel that they're both equal in the household. When you're giving your your daughters some work to do, make sure you give your sons some work to do as well, so that they don't think this is a woman's responsibility or this is a man's responsibility. They both should share equally in that responsibility. So I was pretty distraught today when I read about Sarah Everard, who was walking in a busy London street, and she was killed by a police officer. And we see this all the time. We see violence against women all the time. We used to think this only happened in India. I was fortunate again in that I grew up in Mumbai, where I would say that amongst the cities in the world, it's probably one of the safest, or at least was when I was growing up. I could take public transportation at 11 o'clock at night and still feel okay. Not so in Delhi, not so in many other places in India. But it's not unique to India. This happens everywhere, and it happens in the US as well. It could also happen to one of our children. And the problem is that there is such a shame brought to the person to whom that violence happens. And that is why it just keeps perpetrating. So unless we change it, unless we educate our sons that it is absolutely not okay for them to be doing these kind of things, it's not okay that a boy can go out at 11 o'clock at night, but a girl can't, because of the fear of what a man will do to her. We need to change that dynamic, and it'll happen at home. It has to happen at home. It has to happen with teaching what is right, what is wrong, and in fact, trying to re-educate the perpetrator, not the person to whom the crime is committed. We always say, oh, she could have dressed better. She could have not gone out at night. She could have done this. She could have done that. But what about the guy? He could have actually ensured her safety rather than create an environment in which she is unsafe. And so even the people who are on the streets can support this situation by making sure that women are safer. So I think it definitely starts at home. We need to teach boys, men, what their roles in life are, what the girls and the women's roles in lives are. It's not about we have to do the same things, but we have to respect what each other does, and we have to share in the responsibility. So following that, going into medical school, I then came to the US, and I had some pretty significant challenges early on in my life. So here's a good saying from Maya Angelou: you may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. So you can decide, oh my gosh, look at my life, it's over, I have all these problems. Or you can decide to pull up your socks and face life full on and say, yeah, it happened, it's okay. And our society, of course, kind of beats up a woman if something adverse happens to her. But then there are also people who will lift you up. And I was again lucky in my residency to have wonderful friends who supported me in the darkest times of my life. And then I met my husband, who was also a great support for me, and would not tolerate society's kind of jabs at me. So I think it's important that, luck is on your side as well, because you meet people who will support you. But here's another good saying I think that's very important. Behind every successful woman is a tribe of other successful women who have her back. And I think we need to realize that sometimes as women, we're more competitive than supportive. And we need to do just the opposite. We need to make sure that we're lifting, pulling, bringing people up along with us, so that anybody who's having some issues can feel free to come talk to us. To that extent, I think our youth is doing a phenomenal job. Isha Kulkarni has started a program to help women who have been beat up or having other issues. And it is our job as women, if we're in a better state than they are at this time, we could be in a bad state as well at some time, but we need to step up and make sure that we are assisting in these programs, that we are helping our fellow women, and that we have their backs when they're in trouble. So I know that this year has been really tough for a lot of folks, and women especially. COVID has put us all in isolation, and women with little children have found it especially difficult because children are at home and they're still expected to work their 8-hour day and then support the household. You were not going out for meals. There was a lot that was happening at home. And unless you had the support of a spouse, it was a really difficult job for women. In fact, some women ended up losing their jobs just because they couldn't take the double responsibility of schooling children at home, doing their own jobs. And so this year probably has been a step back in terms of women's emancipation or getting equality in jobs. And I think it's going to take another couple of years to really set the stage back to where we were. But during those 2 years, I think we need to support each other. We need to make sure that and by support each other, it could be something as simple as, a retired woman saying to a young mother, hey, I know you're going to be busy with your work. I can take your children for 3 hours and tutor them while you can focus on your work. Something as simple as that. I know that it was difficult during COVID because we were all worried about our own health and trying to protect the people in our households. And how do you be a leader in that setting? So it was a very stressful year for me as well. And I personally have taken care of over 200 patients with COVID. And it was a kind of dramatic change in my life. So who is a leader? I think the servant leader is a servant first. It begins with the natural feeling that one wants to serve first, then conscious choice being one to aspire to lead. That person is sharply different than the person who is a leader first. And so in my setting, I work in a nursing facility, and we had lots of patients with COVID in both my facilities. In one of them particularly, I had 113 COVID patients at one time. And it was a very difficult decision. I have an 84-year-old mother at home who I'm worried about. I have a husband at home and a son. And I made a conscious decision that I have to go into the nursing facility, because if I don't, I cannot expect my nursing staff, my the CNAs who help take care of these people, to also come into the building, because everybody is worrying about their own health and their own lives, right? And so as you go in, if I'm not the person that says, I'm going to help feed these people, I'm going to help give them drinks, I'm going to help start IVs, I'm not going to be able to expect my nursing staff and my aides to come into the building to take care of these sick elderly people. And it is my responsibility, finally, that's the profession I chose, that's the responsibility that I took, that I am going to fulfill that responsibility. And so my mother had a choice. She was told, well, you could either stay here, or, I mean, obviously her son is a pulmonologist, so that wasn't a good option. But she could go to somewhere else. And she is, I think, a bigger leader than I am. She's like, oh, I don't care. I mean, if you get something, then I'll get it. It's okay. But I'm going to stay right here with you because you need my support. And I think that's what has made me strong, is the support of my mother and my father. So true leadership must be for the benefit of the followers, not to enrich the leader. So if you become a leader because you want a name for yourself, or you want to somehow shine, that will show. It's not, people respect, you can't buy respect, you gain respect, and you gain respect by your actions. So I think I'm going to stop there. I may have outrun my time, and I'll take questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Patel. My name is Namrata Haritashya, and I'm a youth coordinator of India Club. And we have few questions from audience, and
Yes.
I'll take the questions for you. Okay. First of all, great speech, such a motivational speech. I have a 13-year-old daughter, and I learned a lot from your speech. How to, how to add up all the leadership initiatives in her. So let me see the questions. Okay. Okay. So first question I have from Shweta Sharma is, what age should the boys be taught to start respecting girls as equal?
As soon as they can understand. And so at 2 or 3, I think when they're playmates together, that's, when we separate girls and boys with, girls play with toys and with dolls and boys play with cars and trucks. And I think we should just give them an opportunity to play with whichever toy that they want. But even at that age, just to make sure that we don't differentiate between a boy and a girl in terms of how we teach them what we're teaching them as well. We don't separate between the two.
Okay, I mean, basically the equal behavior.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, let me see another question. So another question is from Arun Agarwal, and he's saying, as a man, I sometimes want to give an honest, heartfelt compliment to a woman friend that how beautiful you are looking today. But with this Me Too movement, I am always scared and I have shut myself up just to be safe. So he just wanted to hear what is your perspective on this?
I think a woman always likes to hear that she looks good. It's how you say it and what your relationship is. So I don't know if men realize that, but women have an intuition. You know when somebody is saying something genuinely versus somebody is saying something in a leery kind of way. And so as long as you're genuine about your compliment, it should be no problem. I would say that that's probably true. I think most women would agree. You know when a guy is kind of off.
Yeah, women will be happy if you say. Okay, let me see. Okay, I don't see any more questions. Let me see one. Okay. Okay, so it's question from one of my friend, and so we work with a lot of guys in a team and at work, and I also personally feel sometime there are little preference go to the guys. So how do we change our circumstances at work? I mean, what should we should do? I mean, how should I take, I faced many times is like there's some sort of like project thing going on, so they gave little emphasis on men that I personally felt.
Right. So I think the reality is, okay, so when I first started here in Dayton, I started working at Miami Valley Hospital, which was literally an old white boys club. And as an Indian woman, I was definitely in a double minority situation. So the way you can move forward is to just really work hard, keep your head down, keep working hard, and show your abilities, right? So I was finally like for chair of department, it's a small thing, chair of Department of Medicine. I was the first woman, forget about Indian, I was the first woman to be chair of Department of Medicine at Miami Valley Hospital. And so it's like, oh my God, it's a very small thing, because what's the big deal to do that, right? But it's just the idea that you break that wall, you break that cycle of just being white guys in that position. And so I think sincerity, hard work, nothing replaces hard work. Teach yourself all the time. You should be a constant student, constant learner. Your abilities will show and they will shine. Unfortunately, you do have to work harder to prove yourself as opposed to men. And that's just, but we're going to try to change it for our children, right? We're going to try to change it right from the beginning for our children.
Yeah, what a great piece of advice. Yeah, hard work is no substitute, and that's really awesome. Like, we should as a women also work hard, and then definitely I'll keep in mind personally for myself too. So since we are running out of time, I'm closing the questions here. And if anyone have any questions, because we are going to take the questions towards the end, so please feel free to ask. And thank you, Dr. Patel. Thank you so much. Really precious advice. Really appreciate. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Apurva Mapote, and I'm a youth rep for India Club. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce our next speaker, who is coming to us live all the way from India, Mrs. Rashmi Shashank Deshpande. Mrs. Deshpande has been an economics lecturer for 14 years at Mumbai University. From Jyotish Parishad University in Mumbai, she obtained the degree Jyotish Shastri by completing a 3-year course in astrology and stood first in the state of Maharashtra in the said examination. She has also completed the course on Vastu Shastra and stood first in the state of Maharashtra for that as well. She has been a speaker on the topic of astrology at various other events. Please welcome Mrs. Deshpande.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to Women's Connect Astrology session. Honorable President Aditi Agarwal, Secretary Anupriya Krishnan, all committee members and dear friends. Astrology is an ancient traditional Indian science. This form of science has been in use since ages. At times, people perceive this as one of the superstition. There are many misunderstandings created about astrology in our society. But astrology has firm base, that is astronomy and mathematics. And that is why I studied this form of science and I'm able to guide people scientifically as well. My predictions are based only on the study of horoscope, that is the Kundali. This form of science definitely guide you in a right direction, but cannot change your destiny. This science helps you to understand upcoming hurdles, problems, if any, and it alerts you about the same, and one can also decide how to behave in such a situation, how to tackle the problems. As I have mentioned earlier, that astrology is a form of science and it definitely has certain rules and conditions, and basically where astronomy and mathematics has a fair and major contribution towards this science. For example, we can take the example, the best time to do the work is known as Muhurta. This says that if there is a right time, then work is also accomplished smoothly without any problems. For example, the time for marriage, pujas, griha pravesh, etc. Then the Muhurta is fixed by the using Panchang, that is called as a book called Almanac, and which involves complete mathematical calculations. We are considering the latitude and longitude of place. So this means it has scientific view as well. So Muhurta means favorable time for work. Next slide, please. When we decide to study or predict a future of person from the horoscope, it is very essential that the horoscope must be accurate. Before preparing any horoscope, it is very crucial to know exact date of birth, exact time and place of birth. If one knows place of birth, then we can find out what is the latitude and longitude as well, and by combination of date of birth, time, and by applying the Panchanga mathematics, also including the speed of planets to it, one can create correct horoscope. And actually we can say horoscope is nothing but a blueprint or a map of planet in the sky. What are the position of planets in the sky? That is the most important. That is created at the time of birth of that person. Actually, the period or time of birth and age is beyond anybody's control. But what lies in our hand is we can definitely do an astrological study of any situation that occurs in given period of time. Next slide, please. Every person is suspicious about this one thing, that can planets affect a human's life? Then the answer to this question is yes, they do, because there is no life without sun, and it is a continuous resource of energy. Similarly, moon is also related with the speed of the earth. So this is the this even proved scientifically. So each and every planets are having some effects on one another. Next slide, please. People who predict future and studies astrology scientifically are very useful for the society, but sometimes, despite of having the technical knowledge about the subject, people end up giving wrong guidance to others. For example, at the time of fixing the marriage, horoscopes of both suitable girl and boy are studied and matched, and just because their horoscopes earn maximum points in the matching each other, that we can say it's a good melan, they conclude that the horoscopes are matched and tell that they can go ahead with marriage. But this is wrong, because Woodglen is just a technical part. In reality, it is very important that planets of both the parties, the suitable girl and boy, should also complement or match with each other, and for that it is necessary to have a deep analysis that one can find out with the help of studying of planets, whether there are any problems related to marriage, which is very important to check. That is divorce, falling of the lines, or engagement before marriage, late marriages are there, no marriages, or a love marriage or arranged marriage, etc. Likewise, other things related to marriage can be checked, but before getting married. Actually, the rate or percentage of divorces are also increasing day by day within India and also even outside India. The reason why am I able to tell this confidently is because my husband is a lawyer by profession and deals with the divorce cases of Indians from outside India, like USA, Dubai, London, etc. So also one can know by studying the planets in a given horoscope of a person about this general nature of that person, job or business, career, progress, health, ups and downs in their life. Dhana Yoga, that is a combination of planets that gives rise to their wealth, family life and happiness, marriage, foreign travels, etc. So please, next slide. Now the next topic is a manglik. That is when a person is manglik, it is considered to be very inauspicious or bad. But one should not conclude like that, because manglik means a person on whom there is a larger of effect of planet Mars. It is not compulsory that every time a manglik person must marry another manglik person. There are other alternatives to it as well, and one must also remember that being manglik, having a greater effect of Mars and is not a bad, and only it makes the person dominating. Such person generally might not adjust with other people all the time. Hence, it is necessary to search a right partner for such people. Otherwise, problems like divorce and separation might occur in their lives. Next slide, please. Next topic, Sadesati. Sadesati is also a very important part. Most of the people are worried, tensed about the Saturn Sadesati, that is a transit. Saturn's transit. Actually, the effect of Saturn can be seen on person's life for total 7.5 years. Generally, the period of initial 5 years during Sadesati is a little troublesome or difficult. One can witness financial problems, physical problems, psychological problems during this period. But during last 2.5 years, generally there is a recovery of all things are worked out properly. The problems that are witnessed during this period generally related or depends upon the karma of a person. And actually in the astrology, Saturn is termed as a law minister. Next slide, please. Now, people generally ask for the remedies. Generally, remedies that are mentioned in astrology involves mantras, prayers, because they carry that much importance. It is important that one should consult a good astrologer, else there are people who take undue advantage of the other person. Such people will tell you to perform most expensive pujas, and one should be cautioned from such fraud people. Scientific astrologers will never guide you with such solutions, because pujas give good vibes and prepare one's mind to face a problem, but they cannot change their destiny. So meditation gives mental strength to one person, hence mantras and prayers has a lot of importance. This will not solve the problems, but it definitely helps in balancing the mind and take proper decisions. It increases the mental power, focus, and provides mental peace. Hence, meditation has importance in the astrology. Astrology means 50% destiny plus 50% action. If someone's horoscope predicts success in exam and good progress, and if that student does not study well or does not make any effort, then he will not pass and nor he will succeed, which means taking action is also important. So remember, 50% prediction or destiny and 50% action. Next slide, please. While walking on the road, if someone comes and tells that there is a pit on the way, then we can definitely try and avoid that pit. But if we don't know that pit exists, then one will fall in the same. Similarly, astrology alerts us about such upcoming problems, situations, and that reduces the gravity of it. This brings us to final conclusion that astrology is a science. It has certain rules and regulations. It is a very deep study, and one who analyzes and guides about the same. It has to be with a scientific approach. They have to positively convey the problems to other person, so that the person will not get scared, and he will get proper motivation. This form of science is not for scaring the other people. It gives positivity. Hence, everyone must derive benefit out of this science and make one's life happy and pleasant. So always think positive and positively face your problems. Thank you very much. I would like to thank India Club Dayton, Mr. Anand Deshpande, all committee members, for giving me this opportunity of interaction with you. So once again, thank you very much.
Give me a second, Namrata.
Sorry. Hello, Mrs. Deshpande.
Yes.
Great speaking, great speech, and
Thank you.
God, yeah, it's like, yeah, open up our mind about astrology and Vastu and Sarasati and Manglik things. So thank you so much. So yeah, we have a few questions, of course. So one question I'll take, it's got from, actually I told my friend and she sent me this question. There's a sun is down in her horoscope. So what she needs to do to overcome this issue?
Yeah, actually this situation is not a permanent, it is a temporary situation. After studying the horoscope, we have to see what will be the next transit of sun, because two patrikas we are studying. One is a original patrika in which maybe sun is down, but in Gochar, means in a current position, always this sun is transiting from one Rashi to another Rashi. So actually, though if problem in the original Kundali, then also by the studying the Gochar, we should know actual what is the now the current situation, because situation is changing always, because all the planets are changing their places, their houses, these all the rashis. So that situation maybe means actually remedy, we can say the mantra and jap, that is a Gayatri mantra, they can adopt, and but actual that position we can see by the their horoscope. So horoscope study is mainly original Kundali and also the current Kundali, that is called as a Gochari, and every time it is the position is not same, so it is a changing position. Okay, so we have to see what is exact, because other planets are also considered. Only sun, that we cannot give any conclusion that only sun is down, but we have to see what are the position of other planets, which planets are giving or throws the drushtis on that sun. That is also the important thing. So according to the horoscope, we will means answer that particular question.
No, thank you. Yeah, and you said that Gayatri mantra is also helping.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, let me see a few more questions we have from our audience. Oh yeah, actually we have. Yeah, so there's a question from Arun Agarwalji. He's asking is like, is there a relationship between astrology and Vastu? Can I do something at my home to help with constant difficulty we have with our family?
Yes. Actually, Vastu Shastra means according to the directions. We are making the arrangements in our house, or our rooms, bedroom, or dining room, or kitchen. These are completely depending on the directions. That is called by Vastu Shastra. But when we are studying this Vastu, exact any flat or any property is there, then also the person who is owning this Vastu, the particular horoscope of that person is also important. So this horoscope and the position of that property of or that flat, that we are means with the combination of these two things, we can guide the person.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Directions and the horoscope.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, so there is a question from Shaw, and she's asking is, how do you know which astrologer is predicting properly? I think it's like there are so many astrologers, and how do I know which one is saying that?
Yes, actually, the astrologer should having the degree, that is a Shastri. 3 years course is there, and it is a very deep study, deep analysis, or and these all Shastris are giving you a very scientific view. Means remedies are also the scientific, and all the predictions are also the scientific prediction. Means only he is an astrologer, that is not enough. You should see what is the degree of that astrologer. That is most important thing.
Right. Thank you so much. And there is another question from Punita Agarwal, and he's asking, how do I know that energy in my home is high and positive? Does it depend upon the placement of planets also? So
actually, firstly, primarily that horoscope, what is the horoscope of that person, and secondly, what are the direction and what type of arrangements are made in that house. That is most important. Again we can say it is a combination, horoscope and also the arrangements in the house, and also what are the correct direction, and these vibes or these energies, positive energy and negative energy, and that we can adjust in the house. Because sometimes if you that is south side, So this side giving some negative vibes or a negative energy. So that side, there are different types of wardrobes are there, means heavy material you can put in that side, so that negative energy will down, means it will decrease, and automatically the energy will be balanced in the house. So depending on your particular arrangement in the houses according to the direction, that is the most important thing.
Very, very nice piece of advice.
I means if the facing, if east direction, so that direction should be a very light, means that particular part in the east direction or the north direction, these all the direction, these completely you should be free from the heavy materials. Heavy materials should be put on the south side and the west side.
Awesome advice. Even I'm gonna apply these. All right. Okay. One more question is, I'm gonna take this one. Is what is the scientific explanation suggesting to wear stone, jewel, ring?
Yes. Actually, that science is also different. That is called as the actually Ratna Shastra. But for that, these Gemini means these stones are having very high carat stones. Then they will give you the maximum positive vibes or the vibrations. But generally, myself, I am not suggesting any type of these stones to the person, because maybe they are means beneficial or not, depending on the carats of such a stone. So generally, in case of means scientific astrologer, generally they are giving only the remedies which are not the expensive, but giving you the positiveness, positive vibes by the mantras and jap. Okay. So generally, we are not suggesting this.
Okay.
But actually, it is science. But we are not suggesting such type of any. Yeah.
Sounds good. I think we are done with questions. I'm not seeing any more. And again, to all audience, if you have questions, we are going to keep the open forum in the end. So feel free to ask, bring your questions that time. So thank you so much, Rashmi ji. And again, welcome to India Club.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you for your nice advices. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hold on, Apurva. You are muted, Kana. Hold on just a second.
Am I unmuted now? Our next speaker is Mrs. Nami Jagdiani. She is the Vice President of Cognizant. She is also a J. Shetty Certified Life and Success Coach, as well as the CEO of the Mind Quotient. Her mission is women's empowerment through mentorship, training, and coaching. Early in her career, Mrs. Jagdiani learned to stand out from the crowd and navigate office dynamics. As she grew in her positions and started leading teams, she found a calling in sharing her best practices to develop women, professionally and personally. In her roles now as an executive in the advertising and communications industry, and as a clarity and balance coach for working women, Mrs. Jagdiani works with women individually and in focus groups in order to focus on themselves and grow in their careers at home and in life. Her parents live in Dayton, Ohio, and she currently resides in Long Island City, New York, with her husband and 3 children, Shiv, Om, and Devi. Please put your hands together and help me welcome our next speaker, all the way from New York, Mrs. Nami Jagdiani.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for that lovely introduction. And thank you for inviting me to be a part of this presentation and this important event. I'm very honored and very excited to share with you things that I have learned as it applies to balance in your household in 2021 and beyond. Before we get started, if you could grab a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, I'm actually planning on ending this session with a small coaching exercise that you can take away with you. So that would be helpful if you're interested in participating. So you learned about me. I'm actually first generation Indian American, and I'm born and raised in the United States. This topic is very important to me because I am actually a reformed member of an unequal household, so I can share my story with you. And it's also an area I'm passionate about. As it was mentioned, I am a clarity and balance coach for working moms. So I do work with clients in this area. And me, along with many other women, had to choose to challenge the status quo in 2020. And this is hopefully, going to continue as we lean in to showing our leadership and choose to challenge. So my story, pre-pandemic, I have a very busy career, and I used to be out of the home from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day. And that was my first shift. And then I would come home and work my second shift, which was the routine and unpaid work that mothers do for their families above and beyond their regular jobs. Research actually shows that most husbands stick to one shift, which is their day job, and women work 2 shifts. So the second shift was managing all the logistics for the kids, the household chores, the laundry, organizing dinner, keeping the house straight, organizing the kids' activities, preparing them for school the next day. And even though on the outside, I look like Superwoman and I was like doing it all and had it all together, on the inside, I was compromising my well-being and developing a lot of resentment in my marriage. So in the beginning of 2020, believe it or not, pre-pandemic, my husband and I actually decided to take a look at this aspect of our marriage and really examine it and lean into it. Because what I discovered is that the reason I was in that situation was actually 2 factors. One is that I wasn't communicating or speaking up about the additional support that I needed. I thought he would see me juggling everything and say, let me help you. And that wasn't happening. The second part is that I thought my time was less valuable than his. And I'll get into both of these later. But before I jump into it, let's step back and let's look at what it takes to run a household. So there are a few types of what's called actually burden that a household has. There's the economic burden, and then there's the domestic burden. And those are very clear. I probably don't need to outline those for you. There's a third thing that happens in households that people don't really talk about, and that's called invisible work. So that's often gone unnoticed by partners. And this is so above and on top of economic and or domestic burden. So these are things like managing people's feelings, sending birthday cards, organizing birthday parties for children, telephoning the in-laws or other relatives, waking up in the middle of the night to soothe children, especially if you have young children. That constant mental to-do list of all the family's activities and everything that needs to be done, that's the invisible work that goes above and on top of economic and domestic burden. So when it comes to the balance, when it comes to these 3 areas, one size does not fit all. So what's happening in one household may not necessarily be exactly what needs to happen in your household. So I think even I used to be the type of person that would compare and despair. I would look at, oh, look, that husband's doing this and mine is not doing that. But on the other hand, there might have been something that my husband was doing that theirs wasn't. So that it's important to know that one size doesn't necessarily fit all. And what really is important is what is happening in your household. If one part feels out of balance, it's important to communicate. This is the hardest part. And I mentioned before that I always expected my husband to just see me struggling and jump in and offer help. And then he used to constantly say to me, whatever you need done, you should just ask. And I would say, can't you see? Don't you know? Isn't it innate? Like, can't you see that I'm actually juggling 3 things? You should get up and help me. And I realized that that was something that was not working in our relationship, but actually is quite the norm. When I'm talking to my clients and talking to my friends, there's this unspoken expectation there that somebody's going to know what you're going through. But there's nothing wrong in actually speaking up and asking for help. Dr. Patel talked about asking for support, and that's how we're going to get there in the next couple of years. And I actually ask you to challenge also asking for that support in your household. Like the members of the household, ask for what you need, and make a mental list and think about like the 3 areas that I talked about, economic burden, domestic burden, and all the invisible work, and think through like what is actually not working, where do I feel that things are off balance, and how can I ask for help and support. There's not even, and I actually don't like that. I actually don't like saying asking for help because it's everyone's responsibility. It's a shared responsibility. And that's actually like something that I work on all the time, my own mindset towards it. And that's something I continue to like catch in myself and work on and challenge myself. It's actually the shared responsibility of the household, and everybody who's in the household has a part in that. So this part is actually important, and this was very key to when my husband and I decided to take a look at the household and split up the responsibilities. There were certain areas that he just preferred to do the work versus me. Luckily for us, it was not the same. So he prefers the household work. He prefers doing the laundry, dishes, managing even like the person who comes in and does some of our cleaning. He prefers the car work. He prefers a lot more around the domestic burden that's pertaining to the household. Whereas I actually prefer managing the kids. I prefer managing their schedule, managing their logistics, their bath times, their showers, and like their activities and planning their activities. I actually prefer managing that. So for us, it very nicely worked out that those are the responsibilities that he wanted to take on versus what I wanted to take on. And those were very complementary. But there might be some that you may think I want my significant other or spouse partner to do that may not be something that they actually want to do or have an interest in. So have that conversation about like, well, what do you like doing versus what do I like doing? And can we find a good fit there? Now, here's the thing. I work with clients on this, and they often say to me, yeah, I want him to do the dishes, but I want him to do them my way. I don't like the way he does them. And I often challenge them and I say, why does it matter how he does them? And I'm pausing there in case somebody actually wants to ask themselves that question. Sheryl Sandberg, author of Lean In, she famously says, done is better than perfect. I say, communicate and then step back and let go. You have given the responsibility, let go and let that person take the responsibility. It does not need to be done exactly the way you do it. And what's to say that your way is the best anyway? So in order to do this, there are some assumptions that need to be challenged in society and in our households. The first of which is an assumption that a man's time is somehow more valuable than a woman's. Answer this question. Is the time your husband spends on a business call more important than the time you spend in taking your child to the doctor? I can actually say the first time I heard that question, I thought, yeah, it is, right? Actually, no is the right answer. And this assumption is pervasive. It's pervasive in our societies. It's pervasive in our homes. Time should not be measured by money. Time should be measured by time. And in fact, earlier today, and I have to share this story with you because it just shows, and it's exactly what Dr. Patel was talking about. It is like right now, it's in our homes and we have to educate our children. My oldest son was actually sitting opposite me and I was rehearsing with him. And he got up and he walked out and he said, and he came back and he's like, I think you just need to make a couple of adjustments to your speech. The first of which is I think you need to add in there how much more daddy works than you. And I said, excuse me? And at that moment, I chose to challenge his mindset. And whenever you go out and encounter a mindset, whether it be in your house or out in society or in conversations with other women, I suggest that you choose to challenge it also, which is of course the theme of the International Women's Day for 2021. So please try to take what you know, think about like the mindset around it and choose to challenge wherever you can and ask for help and speak up. That being said, that's the end of the presentation part of this, I would like to end on a coaching exercise in this. It's a very, very small example of what a coaching exercise would look like. But on that piece of paper that I asked you to pull up, think about your household balance. So on a scale of 1 to 10, so I actually drew out 1 to 10, however you want to do it. You can even just write the number. Think about where you are currently in the balance, how you feel the balance is currently in your household. So 1 is very unbalanced and 10 is completely balanced. So right now, write down the first number, which is where you are currently on the scale of 1 to 10. If you want to do it this way, I just drew a little dot on where I think it is. And then what I want you to do is draw another dot on where you want to be in 6 months on the same scale, on the scale of 1 to 10, where you want to be. So I can tell you right now, I gave it a 6 currently, and I want to be at a 9 in 6 months. I'm using myself as an example. Okay, so I have 3 steps to go on my balance scale. Now I want you to ask yourself, what is one step that you think you can take going into next week to get yourself from where you are to where you want to be? So for me, it would be like from a 6 to a 6.5, like up the scale. And this is the coaching part of it. So this is what I'm going to share with you when it comes to goal setting. You have to make it smart. So to make a goal smart, it has to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. I'm going to walk you through that. So making it specific, and I'm going to use my own example. So right now, there's a burden that I'm carrying that I would like to share with my husband, which is helping our middle son complete his school assignments. It is literally the bane of my existence. So right now, that's my immediate action. That's the area that I want to concentrate on, because I know that's going to help me move the scale a little bit. That's an area that we need to support equally. And in fact, I think he might be better at it than me. So to make it very specific, I'm going to have a conversation with my husband on March 26th, the next time I see him, about life, because we're in Ohio, and talk to him about taking over responsibility for Ohm's schoolwork. That is very specific. That is the action step that I am going to take. Do I think it is relevant? Yes, absolutely. It is relevant to where we need to go. It is attainable. Now, measurable. I will know that I have achieved that goal when Ohm's school assignments are getting done without me being the one who has to do them with him. That's how I'm going to measure it. I know that they're getting done on time and it's not me who's having to chase him. And then I'm going to say when I want this implemented by. I think I want to implement it by the 2nd week of April. So by the 2nd week of April, I am going to have Suhel, my husband, start working on having Ohm complete his school assignments. And I will know that we have achieved this because I am no longer literally chasing him around to do his school assignments. And that is the goal that I have set for myself. So that's like the next step. And that's how coaching works. We could take it one step at a time. And that would be the next step to achieving some balance in the household. It's different for everyone. So the thing about all these areas of life that we work on is that it's not one size fits all, and what works for somebody else may not work for the other. So it's all about what you feel is right. So thank you so much for the opportunity to give this presentation. And I really thank you, and I'm looking forward to your questions.
That was awesome, Nami. Hi, everybody. I'm Shweta Sharma, your cultural chair for year 2020 and 2021. It was amazing. I mean, eye opener. You know, there's so many things that we know, but we just don't think about them. And then when we hear it from a professional like you, we're like, of course, that makes so much sense. And we have such amazing questions from the audience. I would like you to ask a few of them.
Okay.
There's a wonderful men audience, and he wants to ask, do you take men as your coaching students? And is there an age limit for the people you coach?
I'll tell you, I actually mostly work with women between 35 and 55. And not that I'm against working with men, it's because I'm looking to empower women. So that is actually why I have chosen to work with women. If anybody is interested in some coaching, I actually have some amazing fellow coaches and alumni at the Jay Shetty Certification School, and I would be really happy to give a referral. But my specific area is coaching women.
Oh, yeah, okay. He also asked that he has been a very disciplined father. I think all Indian father, especially our fathers, he has been a very disciplined father to his kids, and that has caused some bitterness in the relationship in the past. He wants to become their best trusted friend now, and of course in future. Does this coaching help? Would this coaching be helpful for him to achieve that goal?
Absolutely. The same exercise that I just walked through. I mean, there are definitely like coaches, you have coaching sessions and you go through and you set a goal. So it would be something similar, like a very specific goal that you're working towards, or even on the scale that I mentioned. So we can do it in two ways. You either already know your goal or you go on the scale. Like currently I would rate my relationship with my children here, and this is actually where I want it to be. So this is the work in the middle that I have to do. And coaching is all about yourself. So what are you doing to improve the relationship? So the question is not what is that person doing? It's what are you doing? So what action steps are you taking to improve the relationship one step at a time? This is very, very important. One step at a time towards one goal at a time. It's step by step by step, and then eventually you'll get to where you need to be. So that's absolutely, and that's a great goal. That's a wonderful goal. And it's never too late to build a relationship like that with your parents. And it's just one step at a time. And think about like, what can you do? And here's the thing, there's no advice. It's what do you know inside that you can do to move the relationship one step at a time towards where it needs to go.
With the addition to a few questions I'm going to ask, we have some wonderful questions. People are appreciating your speech, your presentation. They absolutely agree and love what you said. Somebody asked, what does it mean to be coached and how is that different from other helping professions?
Oh, that's a really good question. So the other helping professions are consulting, therapy, teaching, mentoring, and then coaching. So in consulting, you're working with an expert, hiring them to perform the skills that they are an expert in. When you work with a mentor, they can advise you, having been exactly where you want to be. So for example, I am not a career consultant when it comes to the career side. A career coach. I'm actually a consultant because when it comes to women in careers and corporate, in the corporate setting, I actually am much better at advising than coaching. That being said, so there's therapy when you have something that you need to go back in the past and examine in terms of like behavior or something that happened or some type of trauma or something that has happened to you where you need to go back, unpack, look at it, assess, get some type of tools to support getting through it and moving you to a place where you can be present and like fully functional and resolved what has happened to you in the past. Coaches actually take you from where you are to where you want to be. So it's different because coaching is where, we don't go back too much in the past. If anything, it's just going back to resolve and provide some tools to resolve what happened there so that you can give your full energy to moving forward and growth forward. And coaches are not experts in any one area of life. Rather, we're experts in the whole process and methodology of how to coach somebody.
That's good. There's another question, and I think most of the women wants to know this, that what if my spouse carries the economic burden of the house? Is it not my responsibility to carry the entire domestic burden of the household?
This is so good. And I have to tell you, so there's a couple things. So I quoted a few things from a book. It's called Fair Play by Eva Grodsky or Rodsky. I'm probably messing up her name, but it's called Fair Play. And she talks about this. This is all about the household balance. And that is where that second shift term came from. So it's very possible, especially if you are a stay-at-home wife, that you are at home taking care of the home 9 to 5 and your husband or partner is out. What happens in that second shift? It's all about time, and time doesn't necessarily equal money. So when that person comes home, the responsibility, domestic responsibility, should be shared, as well as on the weekends. I actually had a really nice conversation with my mom about this because she's really good at this balance stuff. And we talked about it. And that is something that she actually brought up. And she hasn't even read the book. But she said, you know, it's time, it's not money. What's to say that when that person comes home that they don't have to, like, you know, if somebody cooks, somebody does the dishes. That's literally what she said. It's about sharing the responsibility, because one person's time is not more valuable than another's. And I mentioned that this is something that I continue to work on. I formerly had a very imbalanced household. So that's a mindset shift. Like, I had to address it with my child today. You know, we both have jobs and careers. Why does he work harder than me? You know, like, why do you actually think that? So, you know, and forget, even if I wasn't out of the house, like, what's to say that question, what's to say that somebody taking a work call is more important than somebody taking their child to the doctor or organizing a birthday party or anything, or even cooking dinner? You know, that's a complete, like, moment for women. But time does not actually equal money. Time is time.
That's true. That's true. I would have to wind up the questions here because of time constraint. If I could, I would read all the messages that people are typing here. They absolutely love your talk. Maybe if you get a time, you can just go through the chat box and see how.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check it out now.
I would just, yeah. So, and in the end, we would have an open forum. So if anybody have any further questions, they can always ask the speakers. So we'll move on to the next speaker now.
Thank you so much.
Am I unmuted? Okay. So hello everyone, my name is Bethany. I'm a youth representative for the India Club of Dayton. And our next speaker that we have is an absolute treasure, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. After obtaining her early childhood education and early intervention specialist degree from the University of Dayton, Ms. Jyoti Chatterjee has been teaching at-risk students for the past 8 years. Her mission as a teacher is to help students develop the skills and abilities that empower them and make them feel competent and prepared for the future. She believes that each child possesses curiosity and the ability to learn. Her teaching method requires students to utilize intelligence, creativity, patience, responsiveness, and the ability to adapt to ambiguities, permitting one to spontaneously abandon a familiar plan in order to accommodate specific individual classroom situations when needed. With 2 children of her own and the experience of teaching at-risk students, she realizes the importance of awakening young children to the many possibilities inherent in them, and indeed realizing the power of knowledge combined with the wisdom and a sense of personal responsibility in making a positive contribution to the world. Ms. Chatterjee says children should be exposed at the earliest possible age, through careful and patient supervision to the various stimuli in the real world out there. Exposure to the wonders of nature and the variety of music, language, poetry, literature, and the cultures of the world that are readily available today will definitely make the children of today ideal citizens of the perfect world tomorrow. Please put your hands together to welcome our next speaker, Ms. Chatterjee.
Give me just a second, Mrs. Chatterjee. You're not unmuted yet.
Yes. Yes, I unmuted myself. Thank you for the lovely introduction. And let me thank India Club of Greater Dayton for giving me the opportunity to appear before you and tell you a little bit about some of the unique experiences associated with my engagement in teaching the second graders in my charge in the completely altered environment of teaching and interacting with them daily in the 100% virtual setup bought about completely out of the blue as of late March last year. I will first provide a preview of my teaching experience across 2 states prior to the COVID-19 crisis. I will then tell you a few things about the challenges the unfamiliar pandemic circumstances brought to my profession as an early childhood teacher, educator, committed to contributing my time and energies towards the wholesome upbringing of future members of society, caught up in an unprecedented turmoil in their education and in their lives. I'm privileged to have been born in a family of teachers and been married to a professor. When I came to this country, almost about 30 years ago, my first exposure to teaching was as a substitute teacher in an upstate New York school district, as well as volunteering in my children's school. While teaching at different grade levels, I became convinced about what I wanted to do. Teaching inner city urban school children at the elementary level and in my own way, nurturing them with love, care, focusing especially on the children in need. My experience has taught me that children are indeed just like clay and can be molded and shaped with good moral values and habits. Since my move to Ohio in summer 2002, my journey started with teaching at the ECLC lab at St. Clair, where I was mentoring undergraduate students and teaching preschool students. Many of my little ones came from diverse communities and economic strata of society with single parents. Some of the parents were single teenagers who were living with their extended family. So I mentored the young mothers, gave them suggestions in order to guide them for parenthood. After teaching at the lab for 6 years, I moved to Miami Valley School and started teaching Hindi as a foreign language to students from kindergarten to 5th grade. I designed the curriculum for the school, but while teaching there, I felt I was not doing what I really wanted to do. To teach the underprivileged children. Fortunately, I received an offer as a special needs teacher at Horizon Science Academy. At HSA, it was a challenging job, and this was my first year teaching as an intervention specialist and working with behavior students. Things that were previously hearsay, I could now see firsthand. Hunger, homelessness, domestic abuse, drugs, and alcohol use in families were common scenarios. Before teaching the main material, my first job as a teacher was being a mom, making sure all my students had their morning breakfast. As a teacher, I learned a lot of behavior issues in a child caused by hunger and sleeplessness. A required part of my job was also to visit the families. Visiting the families was an absolutely eye-opener for me as a teacher. On one occasion, we found out one of our students was looked after by their 89-year-old great-grandmother. The house was not conducive to healthy living and had no heat. This immediately explained to me why the child had too much absenteeism and tardiness in his record. So now, apart from feeding the child, bringing the child to school safely was added to my agenda. Fast forward from HSA, I have now been teaching at Trotwood Prep and Fitness Academy for the last 6 years. Hence, my students have been essentially my own children. At TPFA, each morning is a new day with new, unknown experiences, and there's never a boring moment. Each morning and afternoon when the children come home or come to school, we pray for their safety. A couple of traumatic experiences that come to my mind, I like to share with you. I might get a little emotional. These have helped me understand the value of life on earth. It was a Thursday afternoon and the children were playing outside during recess. One of the teachers informed us that there was a shooting in a housing complex downtown on Kiowa Street, and a couple of children were injured. Believe it or not, my mind raced about the attendance of the student in my class that day, and thinking aloud, told my colleague, I hoped it would be not one of our students. Later, when I came back home after school was over, my secretary called and said, believe it or not, Mrs. Chatterjee, a student from your class has lost her life and the brother is in serious condition. The next day was a rough day. For the 7-year-olds, the concept of death and its permanence is either vague or non-existent. Counseling my children was hard. In another incident, I lost one of my favorite students' mother by gunshot, and the student was hiding in the cupboard at night with fear, waiting for the police to rescue her. During the summer vacation, I worry for my students to be safe and whether there would be food on their table. For some, the school meal is the only meal they get all day. Now, finally, some perspective on the uncharted area of virtual learning. In the beginning, this was something new, and we were skeptical about how this would work. Long distance with little kids in a virtual environment. We, the teachers, have confidence in teaching in presence, in person, but teaching second graders online added several challenges. In the new environment, teaching second graders the abstract 6 + 4 = 10 with no manipulatives was a challenge, and was basic handwriting being replaced by typing on a keyboard in the hands of a child. In order to make myself proficient with Google Classroom and the bells and whistles that come with it, I adopted the idea of designing the ELA curriculum on Google Classroom for second graders for all the performance academies. To make this work, I had to teach myself how setting up the curriculum via Google Classroom would work. We played with the program with a handful of my colleagues. Thus, last summer, I was busy learning, establishing teaching methods, determining the best practice in keeping the second grade involved in learning. At the beginning of the year, I informed the parents that I was virtually on the same boat with them about learning, brushing my computer skill, and facing the same challenges. Initially, the school assigned me 78 students. far in excess of my regular on-campus enrollment of 20 students, since it was online. Children from 4 different schools and 4 different towns were included. I informed the school that this was a serious overload. I would not do justice to my students and their families, as I always love to bond with my families. The administrators understood my point and reduced the enrollment to 35, which was more manageable. Here, then a few positive aspects of Zoom. Among other things, I established classroom rules and informed the parents that each child should sit on a chair with a table in front of them in a quiet part of the house. This was important because several of the children actually live in noisy and sometimes very crowded environment. To make the rules work, everything needed to be spelled out. I required that they should be dressed properly on video and have no blankets around them. The positive consequences were the parents' sincere involvement and overall no behavior management at such long distance. A lot was accomplished in 3.5-hour session as everyone became used to the new method and the new form of networking and bonding between the children and also between them and Mrs. Chatterjee. After each hour of instruction, I permitted the children a 10-minute break. Guess what? Children are children. I found that though they were told to be away from the computer, they actually enjoyed socializing. This was a healthy alternative to the need for companionship in the classroom. I learned much from my kids, my students, my parents, and how they help each other. If, for instance, a student accidentally has deleted my assignment and gets into a panic mode, another student comes forward, shares the screen, teaching them how to recover the assignment. During the winter break, a couple of my families visited their home countries, typically in Africa. One of my students' home is in Seychelles. So guess what? So we visited Seychelles and similarly the Dominican Republic virtually. And this was a wonderful learning and cultural experience for the whole class. Given that I have students with speech IEPs, it is heartwarming that my students are so considerate and compassionate towards their peer. Each family is unique, and their diversity shows when we hear the little ones speak in different language: French, Swahili, Filipino, Spanish, and Mrs. Chatterjee, Bengali. They also get to watch multicultural videos on YouTube as a group experience. We learn about their food habits and have useful cultural experience. Our class will sometimes end with 15 minutes of learning Spanish assisted by a Spanish-speaking student. I have also introduced the children to children's work by our own Bengali author, including the reading from Sukumar Ray's Book of Nonsense poem, Abol Tabol, translated in English. They get to see these are similar to Dr. Seuss books. Thus, I attempt to expose the children to the literary works from around the world, in addition to learning about Frida Kahlo, Pablo Neruda, Frederick Douglass, Rosa Parks, and others. It is my hope that the children are nurtured in a world modeled after Rabindranath Tagore's world of freedom, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into narrow fragments of narrow domestic walls, where the words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection into the heaven of freedom. My Father, let my country awake. I would always say, let my children awake. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm ready to take some questions now.
Hello. Can you hear us?
Yes.
This is Mrs. Patel. I'm a Dayton International Festival delegate for India Club of Greater Dayton. And that was so wonderful, Mrs. Chatterjee. You're just inspiration for all of us. And to have to deal with children from underprivileged areas and have to go every day, and of course now, online, but that is very inspirational, and a lot of courage we need to take from you. So I also was a teacher in New York, so I understand. But before I came in '98 to this country, actually to this Dayton area, I came to this country at age 5. So I'm also, one of the first generation in this country. So hearing you talk about this, I'm just inspired.
Thank you.
Very emotional. So
someone asked me, do you take funds? Sure, my children, till now I didn't come out to the community. My children, sometimes though they don't even get a Christmas gift. So I ask my fellow teachers, just pick one student, just give $10 gift to my child, a book, pencil, nothing much. They are so happy. And you can come to my school, and we call it Secret Santa. They get to see you, and they love the package. It doesn't have to be expensive, just $5 to $10. Pick one child.
I understand. So I'm going to ask one question. Do you do fundraising for the kids? You just answered it. And yes, what all do you accept? So any other amount?
You know what? The thing is, I usually want you to pick up the gift. Give them the gift like books. I don't take any money. I want you to pick your own gift. It doesn't have to be expensive. And that will be great if you can just pick one child.
Awesome. I don't know why I'm echoing, but let me move my phone this way. Okay. Any other questions anybody having? Let me see here. Do you show any videos to keep your students occupied?
Oh yes. Since my students are very diverse, so after they do a project or anything, I ask them that, what do you want to do? And I will show you that if you have small kids, they may like this. My students love this. So let me share my screen. Is it the sight words? Yeah, it's the sight words. And okay, it's not letting me share my screen.
Arunji, can you make Mrs. Chatterjee the host for a real quick second?
And this video, it has dance and it has a Bharatnatyam move, which my kids love to do. When I saw this video, I said, oh my goodness, this has a Bharatnatyam move and they love doing it. So I am bringing the diverse culture of Afro-Americans and my culture together. So it's kind of a rap, but my children love to do it.
You're all set, Mrs. Chatterjee.
Okay. Let me see if I have it. Yes. It's a sight with song, and my kids love it. And it's an exercise also.
H-T Mike Fortnite. H-O-U-S-E house. Do it. Yep. H-O-U-S-E house. Do it. Yep. P-L-A-C-E place. Do it. Yep. P-L-A-C-E place. Do it. Yep. L-E-A-R-N learn. Learning a lot. L-E-A-R-N learn. Do it. Yep. S-H-A-L-L shall. Do it. Yep. S-H-A-L-L shall. Fortnite. R-O-U-N-D round. Do it. Yep. R-O-U-N-D round. Do it. Yep. G-R-E-A-T great. Do it. Yep. G-R-E-A-T great. They're great. T-H.
So this is, my kids love this.
And they start dancing.
And they start dancing. So.
You can tell them you also teach them yoga.
And I also teach my kids yoga to calm them down.
Sudhaji, you're
Should I?
Okay, now I think I can hear. Yeah, just wanted to say thank you for all your input. And definitely you need to see all the chat that's going on. Wonderful, wonderful things I have to say about your speech and talk. But if you have any more questions for Mrs. Chatterjee, you definitely can tell at the end. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mrs. Chatterjee. Can you give your host rights back to Mr. Arun Agarwal so we can go on to our last final speaker, please?
I gave it back. Just let me see. Should I do the multiple?
No, if you click on his name and say, make him the host, that should take care of it.
Wait. Okay, participants. Oh, where is it? I cannot see. Did you get it back?
You're not the host.
I am not the host anymore.
Either Mr. Agarwal or someone can bring on the next speaker.
Yeah.
Jyotiji, you are the host actually right now. If you don't mind, if you just if you click on my name in the participant list and just make me host.
Okay. Just hold on. I'm trying to.
Go to the participant list.
Yeah.
And
okay.
Just my name will show up at the top.
Okay, got it. So should I just
make him the host, right?
Should I just
check the more?
Just take your mouse on the top of my name and right click on it.
Yes.
Did that go through?
Did it go through?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Very good.
Thank you so much.
I couldn't be happier to welcome our very next speaker. Ms. Anjali Medirata Brennan is a successful 2001 graduate of the acclaimed Ayurvedic Institute's 3-year Advanced Studios and Clinical Program with a world-renowned Ayurvedic physician, Dr. Vasant Lad. She's also trained and skilled in somatic trauma resolution, lymph drainage, craniosacral therapy, hands-on brain therapy, fluid articular release for the joints, neuroembryological release of ligaments, toxin and allergy elimination, Arvigo Maya abdominal therapy, polarity therapy, LIIFT, and synergy yoga, and as well as dance. Also, Ms. Brennan volunteers as a teacher of heartfulness meditation, whose system she has been practicing since 1994 and teaching since 2000. She has also been featured guests on several different TV and radio shows on health. Her practice has been part of the University of Cincinnati's alternative medicine rotation for family practice medical residents at the Clinical Memorial Hospital. where medical students would observe her in her work to understand more about complementary medicine. Ms. Brannon has also been an Ayurvedic panelist for a master's capstone project at the prestigious Brown University. For about 20 years, Ms. Brannon has had an active Ayurvedic and Wellness and Panchakarma Center and has been teaching classes in Ayurveda. She's also the director of the skilled team at the Ayurveda Natural Health Center in Beaver Creek, Ohio. Please welcome Ms. Brannon.
Thank you. Thank you. I think I'm unmuted. Yes. So I know we're running behind here, so thank you all for staying. I'm going to do some practical, short little self-guided self-help exercises to help us when we're feeling blue or frustrated or even anxious. So I'm going to go ahead and go straight to the presentation. Just give me a moment here to share my screen. Okay. So, like I said, we're going to go over some quick, powerful ways to overcome blues and frustration. These are techniques that you all can do on yourself, and I'm going to do it with you guys today. So, here we go. So this work is based on somatic experiencing by Dr. Peter Levine. And at the basis of his work is the understanding that whatever the mind imagines that we're doing, the body thinks that it's actually happening. And you have a similar physiological and nervous system response as if you were actually doing that activity. So these are some of the uses for this technique. You can increase energy in the body, will relax the nervous system, will renegotiate traumatic events. They say that it's never too late to have a good childhood, or you can go back and rewrite history in a very real way. So your cells start to carry a whole different experience. You can repair physical injuries in the body with this technique, heal any emotional wounds, dispel the blues, release frustration, and help make clear decisions. So we're going to begin with a technique to help increase the energy in our body, and it's called resourcing. So we're going to begin by asking ourselves the question, what is one activity or one thing that you enjoy doing, that you feel successful at, and you feel empowered by? So just try to find one activity or even a moment in time when you felt all three things. So it could be in 6th grade, you won the spelling bee, for instance. It could be any event in time. Or if there's an ongoing activity that you really love, that you feel successful at and empowered by. So we're going to do this activity. You can either open or close your eyes. I prefer to close mine, but if you would rather leave them open, that's fine too. And I want you just to imagine yourself doing this activity now, or being in that moment in time when you felt that way. Take some time to really feel yourself doing that activity. Imagine where you would be, what the surroundings would feel like. And now notice what sensation you're noticing in your body right now as you imagine doing that activity. Scan your body from head to toe. Does a certain part of your body feel different than the other? Does your whole body feel neutral? Does the body feel relaxed? Do you feel open in certain areas, or maybe an increase in energy in certain areas as you imagine doing that activity? Sometimes people feel tingling, and sometimes people feel just neutral, and that's fine too. So just see what you're noticing as you imagine yourself doing that now. And just let this feeling soak into your cells. You can begin to open your eyes if you have them closed. And I'm going to ask you another question. And again, you can keep your eyes open or closed for this activity. But think of who or what has helped you through your most challenging times. And as you think about that person, or maybe it's an activity or a thing, just see what you notice in your body as you think about who or what has helped you through your most challenging times. See if there's any part of your body that stands out. And if you just feel relaxed and neutral, then just let that feeling sink into your cells. Now, as you're in this place, in your body awareness, I want you to, we're going to do an exercise now to comfort the blues. If you're ever feeling depressed or sad or hurt even. Right now, what I want you to do is go and access the most loving and compassionate part of yourself. That part of you that's very loving and caring and compassionate. And have that part of yourself now go to the part of yourself that might be feeling sad, depressed, lonely, or hurt, unacknowledged, or just not happy for any reason. Maybe the part of you that's gone a lot of turmoil and carried a lot of burdens through this pandemic. And just be there with her and acknowledge that part of yourself. Do or say for that part whatever she needs. Just being there for her now, acknowledging her and giving her whatever she needs. You can do or say for her whatever she needs. You can hug her, hold her, comfort her. And now see what you notice in your body in terms of sensation. Just see what you're noticing. And now to release frustration, come to a time, maybe there's a particular person that's really frustrated you or angered you or caused you to feel hurt. Or maybe it's a certain situation like the coronavirus or the pandemic, anything like that. So now I want you to make yourself huge and strong and powerful in your mind. And anybody else, that other person that was upsetting to you or the situation or the thing that caused you to be upset, make it tiny, tiny, small, and powerless. And if it's a person, make that part of them that frustrated you and hurt you, make that part tiny, small, and powerless. And you're giant, strong, and powerful. And you have superpowers. You can be as creative as you want to be. You can give yourself any superpowers that you want, okay? And now imagine in this imaginal realm where it's safe to do or say anything, and anything goes. Imagine doing or saying to that part whatever you want, anything goes. You can flick them into outer space, step on them, anything you want, smush them, and there's no consequences. It's safe. You can do anything. Anything goes. And now see what you notice in your body. See what sensation you notice. See what parts of your body call your attention if they feel different than other parts. And just letting that feeling sink in. So this was just a very small taste of somatic trauma resolution based on Peter Levine's somatic experiencing. You can begin to open your eyes when you're ready if they're closed. And here are some additional resources on the screen Dr. Levine has several books. His foundational book, Waking the Tiger, Healing Trauma. You can check that out. You can also go to his website, somaticexperiencing.com. You're welcome to reach out to me directly through my professional practice here in Beaver Creek at the website midwestayurveda.com or the number that's on the screen, 937-429-9355. And I'm happy to help and work with you individually. And then because we are working with resources to help regulate our nervous system, I just wanted to also mention that heartfulness meditation and yoga is an excellent resource as well. There's a 100-day of yoga program beginning, and you're welcome to sign up for that for free. There's a website here. You can go to heartfulness.org and you'll see the info, or at this link, hfn.link/yoga for unity. And it's all free yoga and meditation. And it's also another perfect way to really deeply resource and regulate your nervous system. So that's the end of my presentation today. If anybody has any questions, I'm prepared to do that now.
Hello, everyone. It's me again. It was awesome, Anjali. It's so calming every time we hear you. It's just such a calm and a peace feeling. I'm assuming everybody felt the same. I definitely have a few questions that people want to ask you, our wonderful audience. Can these techniques help anyone with anxiety or so, and how?
Yes, definitely. So, we can do a similar technique that we just did where we comfort that part of ourselves that feel anxious. But I do want to also mention that sometimes people feel anxious because their boundaries have been ruptured. So what that means is if you've had a car accident, or if somebody's ever, even a ball that may have hit you from a particular angle, or somebody, has hit you, that creates a rupture in our energetic field, and it can create a weakness in that area. So anytime somebody stands at that angle, we may feel anxious. So we may be at the grocery store and somebody is standing in one of our ruptured boundaries and it's making us feel anxious, but we don't make the connection that that's why it is. So I do a really important exercise as part of this work in setting boundaries to make sure that your angles at all the way around you are strong and that your boundaries are strong, and to repair any ruptures that may be in the field, so that you can be in a crowd of people and not feel anxious and still feel safe. So that is another exercise that we can do in person. And it's a very quick exercise. If people don't have any ruptures in their boundaries, I would just go at each angle and check. If you notice a change in sensation, when I stand at a particular angle, it means there's a rupture there. And if you don't notice a change, it means that your boundary is already strong.
Well, that's nice to know. We have another question. What is your advice to the people who have hard time saying no? I'm assuming most of us have a hard time just saying no right on the face. It's just
yeah.
No.
So those of you that know me and my work know that this is a big foundation for this work. That's one of the first things we do, actually, is to help our nervous systems get comfortable with saying no. And I can tell you that I was the worst person at this until I learned this work, and it really did change my life. So I think as women, we tend to, I think Coach Namita did a great job explaining that. I think we tend to think we can do everything, and we don't know a lot of times how to say no. And sometimes, we may learn that from our own mothers or just society, that, we're not allowed to say no, or it's not okay to say no, and we have to do it all. But it's really important to let our nervous system get really comfortable with saying no, so that we can say yes to more of the things we want to say yes to, and say no to the things that we just can't do or don't want to do, don't have the capacity to do, our heart's not in it, so that we can live our lives more authentically. So it's a process to let our nervous system get comfortable with that. And a lot of times it can just take one session, but it's just getting our nervous system slowly more and more comfortable with saying no without feeling guilty about it.
And I think that would also help us make more clear decisions, correct? Our mind?
Yes, that will definitely help us make more clear decisions. And this technique can also be used similar to meditation, where you can kind of go inside and ask yourself. You can actually track sensation in your body as you ask yourself different questions. So you can say, you know, how does my body feel if I say yes to this request that somebody made of me? And then see what you notice in your body. And a lot of times you can feel it right away, like you just want to cringe, or your body's just like, oh, no, I don't want to do that. And then how would it feel if I said yes to doing what I really want to do, you know, and saying no to that person? How would that feel? And so you can use it as a way to make clearer decisions, to get more in touch with what you actually want to do by tracking the sensations in your body as you ask yourself different questions.
Wow, that's awesome. In addition to all the wonderful comments people are writing in the chat box for you, it's just so encouraging to hear, you know, there are certain techniques that people can learn to just have a more peaceful life, right? There's another question. It says, what if I had a long-standing trauma over many years? How effective is this work, and how long will it take for me to feel better?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And you know, it varies per individual, but a lot of times I find this work to be incredibly efficient. Ever since I started using it in my practice, and since 2006, I've noticed that people's physical ailments get rapidly better because it's such a great tool for pain management. So, you know, a lot of times we have these incomplete impulses. So that technique we use to release frustration, these impulses that we wanted to do to maybe beat this person up, we couldn't actually do because, you know, we'd get arrested or lose our jobs or whatever. You can imagine doing it and then track the feeling in your body, and your body gets to feel like it has that experience. And so all this pent up energy that can get stuck in various places in our body can get released very quickly. So even if it is long-standing trauma, it may only take a few sessions, and each progressive session, the person will feel better and better.
Wow, that's amazing. As I said earlier, if you guys have more questions, there will be an open forum, I think, in another few minutes. You can type in, you can unmute yourself, and then you can ask the questions yourself or type in here. Any of the EC member is going to help you put that question to the speaker. So
thank you.
Thank you, Anjali.
Every year, this is an event that a lot of us look forward to. You see a person at the grocery store, you see a person, you know, while you're taking your dog on a walk, or you meet a person at a friend's, you know, gathering, and be like, hi, how are you? And then you bring that person in here and you hear the person speak and you are like, what? There's so much that I didn't know about this person. And that's how powerful our community is. We learn so much, you know, every year about the speakers, all from our community. And I personally leave this event in total awe, you know, just being amongst all you accomplished and experienced women coming in from all walks of your lives and sharing your life experiences with us. You know, in addition to having speakers from Dayton, this year we have a speaker from Mumbai as well as from New York. Hope you all enjoyed listening to them as much as I did. Thank you so much again, Dr. Patel, Mrs. Deshpande, Coach Nami, Mrs. Chatterjee, and Anjali, you know, Brannan, Mrs. Brannan. I know Anjali very well, so I took liberty and I said, Anjali, I'm sorry, Mrs. Brannan. You guys were amazing. All your topics were very relevant. They were in line with what everybody is explaining. You were all very comfortable. You made it all very personal. You helped us all be ourselves comfortable in asking questions, interacting. Thank you so much. You know, in one way or the other, I think, mental health is also a very important issue. And that also makes you guys frontline workers, in addition to doctors, teachers, nurses, and other people. I shouldn't forget, thank you, B and Chinmayee, for that beautiful, beautiful song that you started off with for us. If people missed it, we will be sharing our YouTube link. You can go back in there and listen to her and listen to all the speeches once again with your family. Thank you to our Zoom host, as usual, Mr. Arun Agarwal, without whose help, pulling this off would not be possible. We are learning how to successfully run shows in the pandemic, and he has been one of the most important people to help us navigate through this, pandemic virtual event. Thank you again to all you audience for yet again being wonderful, supportive, and the chat just warms up my heart looking at all the positive, encouraging comments that you've been giving. We had almost 82 participants at one time, just staying through and to listening to our speakers and encouraging them and asking them informative questions for both yourself and for us to benefit from. We will now have an open forum. Arunji will unmute you. If you have anything to share, anything to ask, please raise your hand. We will try to accommodate as many people as possible in the open forum. Thank you so much again to all of you for joining us today.
I have a question from Mr. Anil for Namita. Is that okay, Nami? Okay. They say, hi, Namita, you earlier mentioned about being the first generation American Indian. You were to explain how it has affected your life and its management. They're interested to know how you did it.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Anil. So this is actually very interesting because I think that, Mom, can you? Yeah. I think that it's a little two-sided. So one was the cultural norm that I saw growing up, especially when I would, visit family or see certain households, and pretty much what society expects. And then the other side of it was what I saw growing up, and they're actually not the same. The balance in the household that I live in and grew up in is very different than society. So I think I didn't actually have the same impact that I would have expected. Like it wasn't consistent, which is probably why I've gone into doing this and trying to empower women to create more balance and speak up for what they need. It is, I don't think it's also just being an Indian. The more and more I talk to people and the more coaching I'm doing, I'm just finding that there is a gender inequality, whether you're an immigrant or first generation or second generation. This inequality that exists is pervasive. And it's also because women have to, as it says, step in and choose to challenge. It's also on us to step up. And now as a lot of those conversations are happening. So as much as I put that on as a label for myself, I actually don't think that it is a label. The only label is probably woman. Being a first generation Indian did not make me who I am.
Do you have any more questions, Shweta, or can
Yeah, I have one question that the audience want to ask from Anjali. Is she there?
I'm here.
Yeah. In one of your slides, you said this technique can help you with physical injuries, correct? Can you explain more about that, and can it help with pain relief?
Yes, it definitely can. I think I mentioned that earlier in a question too, but yes, it can definitely help with pain relief, because once you release the impulses and you meet the needs that didn't get met, the pain in the body starts to go away. It'll dissipate even in that session alone, and it's usually permanent, because once that's the root cause, and then it'll go away.
I have a question for Mrs. Chatterjee from somebody. The person wants to know, apart from being there for your students, helping them navigate through the days and helping them with your financial aspects, How are you there? Do you have mental health counselors, or do you have to double up and do that work also for them?
We don't have mental health professional, but I am their mental health professional because I am there for 9 hours a day. And some children say, Mommy. Sometimes they will say, Grandma. And the other day, one child came and said, Mrs. Chatterjee, how old is my grandma? She is old. I said, how old? She is 40. I said, oh, she's just 40? So I counsel them. I'm the counselor.
I can imagine the amount of mental stress that puts on you to be there for your family as well as the family of 35 other children. So yeah. I have 2 kids here, and I can tell you, I mean, I'm going to say thank you to you.
You're welcome.
There was one more question for Mrs. Chatterjee.
Yes.
That I just turned off my laptop because there was some echo going on. Sorry about that. The question is, where's your school located?
My school is at the border of Trotwood and Dayton. So we get kids from Dayton and Trotwood, both.
I got you.
It's near
Pratibha has a question. Can you please speak up your question? And then after that, Reena, go ahead.
Okay, I have to just... thank you, Anjali. That was a great presentation. I have a live, demo or live actual experience from Anjali. What she's mentioning about subconscious mind, what she was talking about that, and I'm the live example of that. How you can heal your body as well, and so it is no brainer to practice these things in the daily life, and it really improves the quality of the life. And then what Anjali was talking about, how do you feel? How do you do the things like that? It really does the impact. So we don't have that much time today right now, but it really does, because I have a lot of personal testimonies based on that, and how you can, in fact, it can improve the quality of your skin as well.
Accept volunteers.
Yes, it is exactly, because currently, just for the sake of knowing that she was mentioning about heartfulness meditation and how impactful it is. So we just conducted the recent studies. It's an international study which we just completed, and we found out that how it is impactful. So meditation and all those thinking, that subconscious mind thinking is also works well better. And we have a scientific proof as well. So thank you, Anjali. I just wanted to give you personal testimony myself, and Anjali knows this better. Thank you. Thank you, Anjali.
Thank you, Pratibhaji.
Mrs. Chatterjee, you had a question. Do you accept volunteers?
Yes, we do. We do. Like I take my daughter to school to help out with my kids. And then my daughter, she also acts as an ambassador. Like she is mentoring my kids because they are coming from broken family, like the importance of education in their life. And then when she performs dance, she learned from Anupriya, and my kids love it. So my daughter comes to mentor them. So if you have your children who are in 10th grade or 12th grade, you can bring your contact me, and we will value their presence in the school, just as a mentoring leadership.
Thank you.
I have a question. My name is Reena Goyal. I'm the treasurer for India Club, and to all the speakers, this awesome program. But my question is specifically to Ms. Chatterjee. Mrs. Chatterjee, actually, I started MVS Hindi program before you.
Yeah. Oh, glad to see you.
Yes, thank you. But I work with different organizations which kind of help kids, and would definitely like to help your kids in need. And that is any way we can help. Gifting, mentoring, so many things. I think I have a perfect organization when we can help with the kids. So I
thank you so much.
Like you to share the number with me.
Yes. You can probably, Anupriya has my email.
Okay.
us the email and we'll be in touch.
I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, to all the speakers, awesome job. I loved everything. Thank you.
If anybody has any questions and if you would like to have more one-on-one interaction with anybody that, any speaker of your choice, please write to us and we'll be more than happy to give you their contact information so you can ask them, more questions or more anything else that you want to discuss. But the open forum is still on. If anybody wants to unmute yourself, just go ahead and raise your hands. We'll be more than happy to give a chance for everybody to talk.
I also have one request.
Hey, Anupriya, this is Pushpa. I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I just want to take this opportunity. I think it is so nice to have a program like this, what India Club is doing. And I think some of the things like Namita, she's my friend's daughter, so, but she mentioned these are conversations that I've been here 35 years. I work full-time, my husband works full-time. But we still have that segregation of, and those are difficult conversations to have because you were grown up. You were taught that even though you're going out and working just like anybody else, but then you come home, you're like an Indian wife or Indian mother or Indian, and when my kids come, I'm like, so this was really great. I mean, I think it's empowering women, and we as a society, we as the Indian community have a lot of things that we don't talk about to other women. So I think this gives us a good platform. I really appreciate each speaker. And Anjali, Brennan, I have taken advantage of her. I had a car accident and the pain was there for many years. And she has done a session with me. Also practice her heartfulness meditation, and I'm a trainer. So I'm asking any of you going through this pandemic has been really tough for so many people in so many ways. And I think we all have to just open our heart and empower each other. And I am just so blessed and grateful to be part of this Indian community here in Dayton. Just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Hema Pandaragi, she has a question. She's my boss at the temple too, so I have to really give her a chance.
No, I'm not boss of anybody. In fact, the chosen service of HCO this year. Well, many thanks to India Club Executive Committee. This was such an awesome presentation, and special thanks to Arun for reminding me. If not for him, I probably would have missed this. So thank you. And it is wonderful to hear from all the speakers. We have a great community. Namita, Jyotiji, Anjali, the mission of HCO for 2021 is Seva and education, and everything that you all have spoken falls in that category. I just heard from Reena, from behalf of MBRP, India Club, we are all set on a mission of Seva and education. So thank you all, and I look forward to working with you all in the near future. And I'll get your numbers from Anupriya. Thank you.
Thank you, Hemaji. And, we shouldn't forget, I want to really give a special shout out to Mrs. Rashmi. She's logged in from Mumbai, and it's probably in the dead of the night, and she's happily sitting here, smiling, nodding, encouraging, listening to all of us speak. Thank you so much, for joining today, Rashmiji. Astrology it's a very deep topic and a topic that all of us are curious about. So I'm pretty sure I have people pinging me for your contact. We will make sure that we'll put you in contact with everybody who has a question. For that matter, everybody else who reaches out, I have your contact information, and I will make sure that we'll put you in touch with them. I don't see anybody else raising your hand. I'm going to just give you guys a few more minutes. If not, we will be signing off very soon.
Hey, Anupriya, there was a quick question for Rashmi ji. Actually, I was reading the chat box and I found that time. So one of the audience asked, he or she wanted to learn the astrology. So is there any link where you can teach, or is there anything you can provide them or guide them to learning this astrology?
Actually, I'm not teaching, but actually that is a course of 3 years in Mumbai, and means through these 3 years, everyone should know about this course, but online course is not available. That means we can say the attendance is compulsory and all these things. So if any course is there, so that I will know and can give the information for you if anyone interested. So
perfect. Sounds good. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So yeah, they can contact you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rashmi, and appreciate your online from India, and it's really appreciate. Thank you. Thanks, Anupriya.
No problem. We're going to do a group picture. If you all don't mind, just to show support to each other, just raise your hands and smile. I'm going to take a screenshot if that's okay with everybody. Okay, just go ahead. I need my two hands, so I probably will not.
Yeah.
Anupriya, can we request everybody to open their videos for a second? I know everybody does multitasking.
I'm trying to go screen by screen. That's a very good reminder, Arunji. If you all can please unmute yourself and just show support for International Women's Day to the women in your life, to the women who created you, the women who you gave birth to, every person who you come in contact with, every woman who's helped you. That would be amazing. On the first screen, on my 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah.
One more. Second screen. Just make sure you unmute yourself. Otherwise, I will have just your name, and I will make sure I say these people didn't want to show their name.
You said unmute or the video?
Please,
Video.
Unmute your videos. That way, I can see you all smiling with your hand up. Some people will have to redo it again because you are in shared screens.
I'm just going to do that.
Yes, please. Thank you. In 3, 2, 1. You guys are all awesome. So supportive to be part of this. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for patiently, helping us as we navigate through, bearing with us as we navigate through technical issues. We are not pros. This is only our second virtual event, but we are hoping, the pandemic goes away by this year end, or we will see you all virtually. We'll continue to bring this to you every other month or so. If there is no more questions,
Thank you.
we will be signing off.
Thank you.
Thank you to all
Thank
speakers.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you to all the positive comments in the chat window. We love compliments. Women love compliments. Well, everybody even more.
Is it still recording?
It is still recording. I have to be there at the very end.
Oh. Okay, bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Okay, Anupriya, I'll leave. I have to go to Cleveland. So
thank you so much, Arun.
baton is in your hands now. Thank you.
Thank you, Arun.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Could you
Thank you.
Thank you.
Arunji, could you make me the host before you leave, please? I need to stop the YouTube
I
stream.
think he's still on.
Yes.